No 70-point game in the NBA, but it was still a ridiculous day with stories everywhere. Coaches fired, trades going down, PED suspensions, coaches getting hired, maybe? We'll see. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and me, Grimlock, love Cup's old war stories. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Thank you also for making sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you for hitting a thumbs up. Thank you for ringing the notification bell. It's a great way. You can double bang. You can listen on audio, and you can double bang it again, hitting the video side, and also trade deadline show. You know what's going on. Thursday, February the 8th, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Go and pre-bang it, pre-like it, and put it in your diary so you know where to be when the action goes down. We are here to talk about the action that went down in the NBA on Tuesday, January the 23rd. We've done a million shows already today because of all the stuff that did happen, and I wish we had a little bit more clarity on some of the stuff, but let's talk about what we need to talk about, because there was a news report in the TNT broadcast today, halftime, and they were like, oh yeah, CNN Sports is reporting that Doc Rivers has been hired. And you go, hired? Like, what happened? First of all, rewind. Adrian Griffin got fired by the Bucks. Yeah, cool. I know they've got the second best record in the East, and it's crazy that he's fired, considering it's his first year and it's a whole new team or whole new system in terms of, you know, his system, and then integrating Damian Lillard, all that sort of stuff. But there were so many signs here that he was just not coaching them well. Their defense obviously struggled. The switching in schemes, the fact that the players just seemed not impressed at all. You're going back to months ago, Giannis checking himself into games after he'd been taken out. So many things were apparent that it just wasn't working. And I mentioned, I said this, I think, back in November. Like, at what point do you just say, like, it's just not working? See you later. Like, what's the point of holding on here? And they did. They just said, you're done. You're gone. Griffin's gone. And the reports are from Shams, from Woj, that Doc Rivers is one of the guys they're going to be looking at. And then halftime of the game TNT, they just broke in and got, according to a report from CNN Sports, that's me breaking news, listening through my earpiece, Doc Rivers has been hired to be the new coach. And then nothing. We've heard nothing more. CNN Sports Twitter account, nothing. CNN's official account, nothing. CNN's website, nothing. Bleacher Report announced it, but they're also owned by the same company. TNT, Bleacher Report, CNN, it's all the same company, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it's all the same company. So what the hell was this report? Where did it come from? Why is Woj and Shams sitting on their dicks? What are they doing? Well, is Doc Rivers actually the coach? Did someone go way too early on that? Was that a fake report? I don't know. And by the time you're watching this, we might actually have clarity on whether Dr. Rivers is their coaching. We need more medical superstars in the coaching profession. We've already got Dr. Michael Malone. And without Glenn Rivers there, it had been a little bit lacking. But I don't even know what to make of this. In terms of what it does for fantasy, nothing. I don't think Doc changes a huge amount in terms of the Bucks' value of any of their players. I don't think maybe it makes them better, because it would have been hard to be more frustrated. Not even frustrated. Griffin didn't impact us much from a fantasy perspective. But Rivers is not a particularly good coach. And I know people go, look at the games that he won. Yeah, cool. He's deliberately seeked out teams who were at the cusp of winning a title. Remember when the Celtics started to tear things down? Like, trade me. I don't want to be here. I'm not dealing with rebuilds. Send me to the Clippers. Got fired by the Clippers, joined the Sixers, who were in that position as well. Like, and now, if he is with the Bucks, it's another team that's at the top. So yeah, he's going to win a lot of games. Unfortunately, they don't all come in the playoffs. And I just don't think that Doc is that good anymore. He was a really good coach. And when he's faced with adversity in the regular season and they're down a lot of players, then he's able to scrounge up stuff through motivational stuff. But as an actual NBA coach, no, it's not the answer. But they're obviously desperate, and shit was going down behind the scenes clearly with Griffin there. So that happened, and we don't know what it means. We don't know if it's real. We don't know if Rivers is actually getting hired there. So before I expend too much energy on that, I won't do any more. Terry Rozier was traded to the Heat. We did a full breakdown on that. I talked about the valuations there. It just means more of a boost for Brandon Miller. The other thing we did get, though, is that they don't think Kyle Lowry is going to play until at least after the trade deadline, so they're just going to try and move him on, whether they buy him out. He might never play in Charlotte. So the minutes open up there for McGowan's, but more importantly for Brandon Miller, and then you go to a Nick Smith and Ish Smith coming off the bench. I don't think that we're adding Smith or McGowan's in any 12 or 14. I wouldn't hate a Nick Smith into 16, and Brandon Miller's value does go up, although it is a perfect sell-high chance for him. Riding off the cusp of 3 20-point games in a row, where he's hitting 80% of his twos, plus the expected boost because of the Rozier trade and other trades, you might be able to actually trade him away for something really, really valuable. You might not, but it is worth looking into. Tristan Thompson. Yes, he was in the league. He played for the Cavs. He was their backup center. He's been suspended for 25 games. And again, you wonder, how did this man go from being out of the league, playing 3 games for the Lakers last season, to being a full-time NBA roster player? Not sure, but he's now suspended for PEDs. You don't add anyone because of this. Damian Jones will get some backup minutes. Maybe they go to Isaiah Mobley. Maybe they go to other brother legend Pete Nance. Probably not, he's more of a 4. But yeah, that happened. And then, you know what I'm going to say, Tyrese Halliburton is re-injured his hamstring. Absolute stunning development from a man coming back from a hamstring injury way too early, that he re-injured after 1 game. I told you it was stupid. I told you it was ridiculous. I should have told those idiots the Pacers. Well, and did. If they were so smart, they could have followed me, because I am obviously a medical legend. And you can say, well, you're not a doctor, Josh. You're not there. Yeah, I know that. I know that. I do have medical training, but I also understand that you don't come back from a hamstring injury that quickly, especially ahead of your reevaluation date. And now, he's just managing it, just injury management. Yeah, cool. Definitely not the case. And they're idiots. And if they cost themselves more time of Halliburton through this, well, eat shit. Your own fault. So what do you do? Well, we'll talk about the Pacers game later, and we'll talk about the ads there. But that is incredibly frustrating when it was obviously as clear as dog's balls that he should not have been playing in that game on Friday. Absolutely, unbelievably crystal clear. Easy. The easiest call you could have made, and they screwed it up. Good work. I've got more about they're moving up the shit list in injuries real quickly. We'll talk about that soon. And I said it, Kyle Lowry out until the trade deadline. It appears that seems to be the word from old mate Mitch Kupchak. Let's look at some waiver wire trends over the last 24 hours. What has actually gone down across the fantasy waiver wires? The most added player is roller coaster legend Midwest Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, up 23%. I wish there was a funny story behind me calling him roller coaster legend, like he's got like a Six Flags annual pass or something. But no, his production's just so up and down that I couldn't think of a better name. He's a great streamer, and he shits the bed way too often. Way too often. Dwop Reith, up 18%. Actually played pretty well. I don't believe that Reith is a must-roster 12-team league player, but on a day like today, with 5 games on, good stream. Isaiah Stewart, up 16%. We will find out what happens there. Now, he was clearly a monster in the last game, and I get adding him. I think it's probably the right move. But we don't know, man. Well, we do. We know it's Isaiah Stewart, so we'll see. Preston Chura up 13%. Oh, Tom Thibodeau, you are the man. You are the man. Did that work out? Actually, it worked out okay, but my frustration with coaches, again, is at the forefront. Jabari Walker up 11%. I'm 100% on board with that. And Sam Merrill. This guy is playing unbelievably well. And honestly, I know this sort of meme came up at the start of the season where Cavs fans were like, why did we get Max Strus? We've got a Max Strus at home. And he's actually better than Max Strus at the moment. Like, he is a better player at the moment, right now. For the last 2 weeks, he's been better than Max Strus, Sam Merrill. We'll see what happens if Karis LeVert plays. But yeah, he's a pretty interesting player, isn't he? Most dropped player, the Jack list. Get that garbage out of here! I'm sure you've all got Jack lists. Goga Badadze, down 23%. He's out of the rotation, sure. Asad Thompson, down 11%. Yep. All right, you can't trust it. And the Pistons are full health now, basically, with Cade coming back and Monte Morris back. They're full health. So it's going to be tough. I would not have dropped Xavier Tillman. Santi Aldama is out tomorrow with knee soreness. Tillman down 11%. He was a hold to me. I think that'll work out well. Greg Jackson, the second, down 11%. Yeah, I think we're okay with that as well. Maybe we'll re-add him later. Kelly Oubre down 9%, easy Jack. And Zach Collins down 8%. Yeah, he's only a stream to me when old mate Victor Wembanyama is sitting out games, which will happen obviously relatively often, but not enough for him to be a must-roster player. Today's episode is brought to you by the starving, famished legends over at Hungry Root, because they're not hungry. They're not starving because they've got access to all of the great food and the fresh produce that Hungry Root has to deliver. But they are absolutely starving to deliver their Hungry Roots to your door. What is Hungry Root? It's a box. It's a box of food. It's a box of fresh food. And it's nutritious and it makes meal planning super, super easy. You save money. You reduce food waste. You save time. Customers save 5 hours per week using Hungry Root without the stress of grocery and meal planning. Hungry Root recommends you recipes and groceries based on your tastes after you've done their initial quiz. You can take their suggestions or you can just say, bugger that, I'm just doing whatever I want. They've got fresh produce, high quality meat and seafood, pantry staples, healthy snacks and sweets, and much more. The best part is Hungry Root follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole and trusted ingredients. Right now, Hungry Root is offering Locked On NBA channel listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life, like the NWO. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedon to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That is hungryroot.com/lockedon. Don't forget to use our link so they know that we sent you. I'm going to workshop some slogans. Hungry Root. Get rooted. Today's episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether it's speed, power, style, eBay Motors has you covered. 122 million parts they've got available. So you're going to find what you need for your number one ride or die. They won't all fit your ride or die because honestly, what car has 122 million parts? Unless I'm just grossly misinformed about how you build a car. But they're all there, and with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to US customers. Do you think Hungry Root Get Rooted will take off? Not so sure. You never know, though. You just never know. That'll bring us into talk about the games. And we do have the first game for us to talk about here. Of course, it is game one. It was the Nuggets and the Pacers. We did have a lineup change in that game, as old mate Rick Carlisle could not resist getting his son back into the starting lineup. Andrew Nembhard started. They moved TJ McConnell to the bench. I don't get it. I don't understand I don't think that TJ McConnell is a great player or anything like that. I just don't understand what Rick Carlisle thinks Andrew Nembhard is. I just don't think he's that good. But it's just consistency about playing this guy. Anyway, the Nuggets, 114-109. They get the win. Jokić, just a casual 31, 13, and 10 triple-double on 68% shooting, while the headmaster Jamal Murray played 37 minutes and had 31, 8, and 7. Good games there. Outside of that, though, pretty rough. Steel streaming legend Kentavious Caldwell-Pope only delivered one, but he did have 14 points with 2 threes, but shot really poorly. He, again, remains just a stream guy to me. While Michael Ponder Jr., who had a rough run of things, then put together some absolute monsters, and then dropped the 5.22% shitburger. Good for you, Mick. 31 minutes. We hold him. It's going to be up and down. But at the moment, Aaron Gordon's just consistently down. What's going on with this bloke? 9, 1, and 1. The 2 blocks are nice. At least he hit his free throws. But we're moving into the situation where if you're in a 10-teamer, category, not points, you move on. You don't have to hold Gordo in a 10-team category, I don't think. In a points, I still would. He's still top 100, but it's been like a long period of nonsense from him. Reggie Jackson had 13, 2, and 2. He also had 2 steals in his 24 minutes, while Peyton Watson brought the 2 blocks, and we know that's where you can stream him in for value. On to the Pacers. Like I said, they started Nembhard. He had 15, 1, and 7. That's not a terrible line. He also shot 78%, which is great. He is worth a stream here with Halliburton out. But the guy that we want is TJ McConnell, because I think he's very, very clearly superior to Nembhard. He had 17, 1, and 7 on 64% in 21 minutes. The 21 minutes is actually enough for Tej to be a 12-team league guy. If he played 27, he'd be a top 40 player. He just does things and makes them good. He just does consistently. He was a plus 10. Nembhard was a minus 15 in this game. I would definitely be looking at TJ as an ad. Nembhard's more of a stream. And then we get into the rest of this roster. Miles Turner, the minutes and the inconsistencies are pretty wild. But we love 37 minutes, 22 and 6. No blocks, but it's just all over the place. And then Siakam had 16 and 10 with 4 assists. Buddy Hield, who'd been getting good minutes, played 22. The Pacers' rotation is entirely unreliable. He had 3 points, Bud. Chavano, my guy, what is going on? He had 2 steals and a block. I would hold him. I wouldn't bother with Ben Mathurin, who had 11 and 5 with 3 assists. Continues to just be terrible for fantasy, honestly. 274th over the last 2 weeks in 26 minutes. That's putrid. Even in points leagues, 164th for the season, 22 points. I'm not bothering with that shit. And Aaron Nesmith, who we did talk about quite a bit as being a solid option, who was really getting by on inflated numbers and insane shooting. And now he's bad. 229th over the last 2 weeks. 13-9 doesn't look bad, but no assists, no steals, no blocks. And he's not hitting threes at 49% anymore. I do think that we probably hold him for a little bit, but I won't. Like, if I'm in a shallow league, I'm not bothering with it. If I'm in a points league, I'm not bothering with it. 12-team categories, I probably would hold Nesmith, but nothing too exciting. Now, I talked about the Pacers and the shit injury stuff, the Halliburton stuff, embarrassing. But Jalen Smith, anyone know that he was injured? No, we didn't. We just heard during the game that he was questionable. According to the Pacers, Jalen Smith is questionable to return with a back issue. And I said, my guys, he hasn't played a single second. What is he returning to? Because he hasn't played. You haven't played him at all. And you didn't tell us. He just wasn't sitting on the bench, and Isaiah Jackson checked in for him. And then the smarmy assholes tweeted out, he will not return. He never played. No mention on the injury report of this injury. Did he hurt any warm-ups again for the second time this season? But then no one told us? I don't know. A lot of people reached out and said, man, I streamed in Jalen Smith. I guess you can do it because just of the low volume games. He wouldn't have been a priority to me as a reserve, but I guess he had a good game last time and people love to chase the good games. As far as Isaiah Jackson, 3 points in 9 minutes and Toppin had 4 in 17. I don't think you need to hold Jalen Smith. Obviously, a phantom back injury sneaking up here. Jackson could be streamable for blocks. Smith can be streamable for some scoring at times if you need it, but it's definitely not a situation where this is a must-roster player by any stretch. What should we do now? Well, we should just go straight into this because today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season, the playoffs, they are getting to the end. It is the pointy end of the season and 4 teams remain, but that doesn't mean that you can't get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers are getting hand-delivered $150 in bonus bets, and by hand-delivered, I mean they just put them in your account. But you've got to put on a $5 bet. That's it. You don't have to win. You just got to put it on. Doesn't matter if it loses. Doesn't matter if it's embarrassing. You just put the bet on, and you get 150 in bonus bets. And then, wow, the world is your oyster. It opens up, the big curtain, and then the whole site is your playground. The Explore tab. You would be shocked to know that's where you can explore. The Parlay Hub. Well, you don't hub in there, you parlay, because one of those is a verb, one's a noun. Is parlay a verb? Yeah, I think it is. But it's also a noun. But that doesn't matter, because we're in there creating parlays. You're looking at other people's parlays. You've got live same-game parlays, plus all the other options over at FanDuel. So, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first better layup. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. So let's take a look at the second game of the day. It was the Battle of New York. Apparently, this is rivalry week in the NBA, and I had absolutely no idea about that, so apologies for not knowing that. The Knicks made a change to their starting lineup because Isaiah Hartenstein was out. Don't panic on Hartenstein, don't drop him or anything. But last game, Hartenstein left halfway through, so we just gave all the run to Precious Achiuwa, and Jericho Sims played 2 minutes. So, of course, it would make sense that Jericho Sims would be the starter and Precious would come off the bench, and Precious played 6 minutes in the first half, because again, why would anything have any semblance of logic in anything that a coach does? It doesn't exist. We don't exist. Everything's fake. And yeah, cool. We'll talk Knicks. They do win the game. 108-103. Sims played 27 minutes. 2 last game. He had 6 points with 4 blocks. The blocks are interesting. The field goals are interesting. I wouldn't rush to add him, much like I wouldn't rush to add Precious Achiuwa, who played 6 minutes in the first half, but then, of course, he played 15 in the second half. Because what is consistency or common sense? What do I care? Precious had 6 and 9. Yeah, he did. 6 and 9 in those 21 minutes. Now, don't misconstrue this for me telling you that, man, I can't believe they wasted a talent like Precious Achiuwa, because he's bad. Like, he's actually really bad. Jericho Sims is also bad. It's more about consistency. If you felt you could trust Precious to play all those minutes last game, and Precious has been the backup the whole way through, and Sims is in there, you're picking his dick, why would he be the guy that you pump 27 minutes into? Because he's tall man, jump high, and that's what you need as a center, Thomas. I'm not adding Sims. I'm not adding Achua. 14 teams, sure, whatever. I don't even know if the Hartenstein's going to miss the next game. Randall, 30 and 9 with 7 assists. That's sexy, especially the percentages. Well, the Jedi, OG Anunoby, 33 minutes, 10 and 5 with 4 steals and 2 blocks. He brought the defense in a huge way. That further pumps up his sell high resume. I would definitely look into it. If I can get a top 40 player for OG, I'd do it. Brunson had 30 and 3 with 4 assists on 50% shooting. Another strong game from Brunson. His game isn't the greatest fantasy game, so when you see someone go 30 points on 50%, you go, man, must be awesome. It's because low rebounds, low volume threes, low steals, low blocks. So he's a little bit of an anomaly in that sort of a zone. DiVincenzo was fine, 11 and 5. He still remains a borderline 12-team league guy, but Josh Hart is not even borderline.
Get that garbage out of here!
2 points in 28 minutes. He had 2 steals, though, on 14% shooting. Grimes had 5 points in 20 minutes, and that's really about it. For the Knicks, not the Knicks, the other team, the Nets, big run here from Mikal Bridges. 36, 5 and 5 with 7 triples on 54%. Missed one of the free throws, which was weird. But nice little run after a stinking run a few weeks ago. And Claxton played 39 minutes. Remember when they just refused to give him 30 minutes? Now 39. 8 points only, but 17 boards, 2 steals and a block, and a weird 44% from the field. Not the line, the field. And then after 3 straight really good Spencer Dinwiddie games, I was like, oh, am I like an idiot? Like, yes. But am I also an idiot because I said that Spencer Dinwiddie is a droppable player? And then he went out and played well? Well, I guess not. 0 points, 19 minutes, 0 of 4 from the field. He had 4 assists, and this is why we don't trust him. Not only does he have a bad fantasy game, is that this shit can happen. Also, they're just not playing Lonnie Walker much at all, which is fine. He's not that good. 5 points in 12 minutes, but Dennis Smith got the 29. Now, I don't think Dennis Smith closed the game out particularly strongly. He had 8 points, but he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. If we knew Dennis was playing 25 minutes, we had him very clearly. But we don't know that at all. That's 1 out of the last 4 where he's got good minutes, but then if you extend it out to the last 7, I think he's had 4 of those games that have been really good. So sample size is really important. Or how you define sample size can be important depending on what your argument is. I don't mind an ad, but I think the upside is relatively low. And the other thing that's confusing is old mate Cam Johnson. He was playing well. Finally, the shot was falling. He had 19 points, but he ended on 25 minutes. That is not enough. He needs to be a 29-minute-a-night player to be a 12-team must. And he has struggled with his shooting, and I do believe he's a much better shooter than we've seen. But even in a game like this where he's cooking, they don't play him. And basically, they did a little bit, but they didn't really cross over Cam Johnson and Cam Thomas much at all. Thomas had 14 points in 22 minutes with not much else. He just is not a 12-team league category player. I don't buy into it. Finney Smith had 5 with 7 assists in his 37 minutes and not much else going on with that one. Let's move on to the next one. It was the Portland Trailblazers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. A little bit of ref controversy. What would the NBA be without it, huh? Always something going on with the refs just consistently. Blazers, though it was close until old mate the Bronco hit the game winner. 109-111. Portland, let's talk about it. Leading minute player, Malcolm Brogdon. Of course, why wouldn't it be when you've got young players, up-and-coming high draft picks on a tanking team? 35 minutes for Brogdon makes complete sense. Not like he's old, not a part of the future, and injury-prone. He had 18, 2, and 7 on 42% shooting. Oh, yeah, it's also not like your top 3 pick led the team in plus-minus. Scoot was a plus 17, Brogdon a minus 8. Shout out to Chauncey Billups, dreadful coach. As for Brogdon, you got to roster him. Things are rolling. It makes no sense, and it won't last long term. He's not going to either stay healthy, stay on this team, or stay in this role. Feel really confident about that. Just don't know when it will happen. And this, again, it's wild. He's going like 16 minutes. Nah, screw it. Let's play him 36. Again, doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's what's happened. As for Scooter, 39% shooting's rough, but he had 19, 4, and 7, 26 minutes, great plus minus, and he goes back and forth every game. I go, this is shithouse. Oh, that's really good. Oh, this is shithouse. That's really good. So I think in the end, we probably can just leave him on the wire unless you are in like a super strong position where you don't even have to activate him. You don't have to play him. You can just sit him on your bench. Anthony Simons is struggling at the moment. Can't get the shot to fall. 17, 3, and 5 on 42% shooting. He's outside the top 195 over the last 2 weeks. He's fallen to 79th for the season. I don't think a top 50 finish is going to happen for Simons, and he has really, really struggled since like maybe the first 3 games that he played. Just can't really get it all cracking. But there are some bright spots, and there's one spot that is the color of the devil's asshole because it is pretty bad. Let's talk Jabari Walker. After last game where people were getting a little bit wobbly on him, 34 minutes, 14 and 13 with 2 threes. I do believe that Jabari Walker's a 12-team league player. And Jez Grant had 18 and 5. And what about old mate, the great Barrier Reith? What Reith? 21 minutes, 10 points, 2 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, steal, and a block. Lovely game. Lovely. Is he a must-roster player? Multiple people ask me that with that specific phrasing, and I'd say no. No, he's not a must-roster player. Is he okay to take a crack at with the Blazers having a pretty solid schedule coming up and the Snowman really battling the elements at the moment? Okay. We've also seen situations where Ayton has been out and Reith wasn't it. He was okay, but he wasn't like, man, this is a great option. I can't wait to get my hands on him. He was one of those guys that you sort of use, and then there'll be nights when Ibubaji chips in and Jabari Walker plays 36 minutes. So I find it hard for me to go, well, yep, Reith is absolutely a must-roster player while he is backing up DeAndre Ayton. I don't mind trying it again, and I don't think Ayton's going to be playing all the way down this stretch of the season. But, yeah, Ayton's also younger than Dwight Reith. I think we need to also realize that this is not like, well, get Ayton out of the way, let's clear the way for the young rookie. Ayton's younger than him. Unless I've just completely botched that, which I don't think I have. I'm spouting that off like I'm, mate, look at me, Office of Births, Deaths, and Marriages over here. Know all about it. I'm going to go and double check that, so I am making sure my numbers are correct. It's okay. I was correct. 3 years older than DeAndre Ayton, Dwight Reith is. But a good game nonetheless. Kamara had 0 points in 14 minutes. He used to be a starter. He is not anymore, and I'm not sure that he's getting it back off Jabari. But let's talk about Olaf. Let's talk about the Snowman. DeAndre Ayton. What is up with this guy? I'm going to use the colloquial use of the term hate. I've hated him ever since he came into the draft. Hated him as a prospect. Hated his attitude. Hated his play. Hated everything. Don't hate him. Don't know the man. Probably a lovely bloke. Right? No, I don't know him. I can't hate him. But I basketball disliked him. And it just keeps getting worse. Now, logic would have said you're off the Suns and you're in a situation where you're the prize piece, really, from a Damian Lillard trade, that he'd be used a little bit more, he'd have this motivation. But I've never seen a sookier asshole in my life. And every quote, it happened basically straight away. What's your goal in the NBA? To get a second contract. Oh, okay, that was one of the biggest red flags I've ever seen, and I did flag that at the time. And now there's people like, what's this quote he's giving out? Don't worry, I'm still always going to be a max player. You're not, mate. You're not. If you get a max contract after this contract, then the world has lost its mind. There's zero chance that happens. Zero. None. This is just ridiculous shit from him. But he's ranked higher than Anthony Simons per game this season. There are people deciding whether they're going to drop him. And I'll be honest, it's shitful, right? 305th over the last 2 weeks is dreadful. He's just not trying. 29% as a big man shooting. 5.7 rebounds. At least he took 2 free throws. Only hit one of them, but at least he took them. No defensive stats. It's been brutal. But he is better than this. For as much as I don't like him as a player, and I am annoyed by everything about him, basically, he's better than this. I am not dropping him. Who are you finding off the waiver wire who is better than what DeAndre Ayton has been this season? Literally this season. Not even peak DeAndre Ayton. That's never, like, he's cooked. Like, that's not happening again, I don't think. In fact, just for my own satisfaction, but he's not this bad. He's not 300th worst or 300th best player bad. And if you're dropping, what are you actually getting back? It's much like the Jordan Poole thing. Hate the bloke, got to drop him. What are you getting back that's actually higher upside? I'd guess nothing. And that is a hard thing to calibrate often in fantasy. For the Thunder, the Bronco hit the game winner, Jalen Williams. 45% shooting. We knew that there was going to be a dip in his shooting. That was very, very obvious, and it happened. But what I love here is he still had 2 steals and 2 blocks. The assists also tumbled down. We know that he's been playing out of his mind, shooting out of his mind, and it had zero chance of holding it. It's very, very clear. But he is looking unbelievable. After a very sluggish first 2 to 3 months of the year, he's absolutely cooking at the moment. Just a ridiculous 4 to 5 week run and a game-winning shot. Unbelievable. The steal and block numbers there are a little fake. Obviously, I still think there's a bit of sell high in it, but we love what we're seeing. Chet had 8 points with 10 rebounds and 6 blocks, so that's great. And Shea had just another 5 steals to go with 33, 6, and 10. But what about Josh Giddey? 25 minutes, 7, 5, and 3. That's bad. He seems like he's always going to be under 25. And that, that's just not what I want, what he wants. It's just, we need more. We need more minutes. He's got to be held, I think. Someone said to me the other day, man, you said Giddey's been struggling, but he had a triple-double. I know, he did have a triple-double. But what about all the other 20 games surrounding that? Well, he had improved, but he's still not playing that well. And again, he's not playing that well. And then the roller coaster, Lou Dort, 6 points in 24 minutes. This is what you get when you stream in Lou Dort. You either get 15 points on one shot, or you get 1 point on 17 shots. Or somewhere in between. 6-3-1 on 33%. The most frustrating bloke in the world to try and figure out what he's going to do on a game-by-game basis. The next game was, as some would say, a masterpiece of dog shit. Because the Pelicans just dropped a franchise-high 153 on the Jazz. They win 153-124. The big fella Simone Fontecchio was back. 25 minutes, 18 and 4, 2 steals and 5 threes. And by back, I mean he decided to turn in a good game. Don't add him. He will be added and people will be chasing this game. You don't get it back. Colin Sexton, who'd been 30 plus minutes, went back to playing 24. Still was insane. 22, 3 and 7 on 75%. I harp on about Jalen Williams' shooting numbers. This guy's efficiency is just as crazy. He can't hold. But it is somehow. And Walker Kessler played 32 minutes last game. This one he played 25 and had 6 and 5. He had 4 blocks. He is still a must-roster player. In a points league, I'm not so certain. But in a category league, he is. But he's just, I don't think, ever going to hit the expectations that you might have had. Markkanen never really turns in duds, but this is the one. This is the exception that proves the rule. 11, 4 and 1. And Clarko also struggled 9 points in 22 minutes. Again, a masterpiece of dog shit. Chris Dunn had 10, 3 and 4 in his 17 minutes, and George had 12, 1 and 5. As for the speaker, I still do believe in him, but while they're running a 4-guard rotation, and I'm not really sure they're going to be moving anyone out, I'm not sure that George elevates into a 30-plus minute role and is a 12-team guy. I think you can move on, and if something does change, be quick to re-add. But at this point, Jack,
Get that garbage out of here.
For the Pelicans, Herb Jones. We talked about how there was trade rumors around him and how he'd been struggling. He still only played 26 minutes, but he turned in that ridiculous performance that he does every so often. 22, 5 and 5, 26 minutes, 22 points in 26 minutes for offensive legend Herb Jones. He had 2 steals and a block on 89% shooting. You know what I'm going to say. This is sick and all, but when you add him, you don't get it. You don't get this game. It doesn't go into your ledger. In the last 2 games, he played 47 minutes combined for 18 points and 2 steals in 2 games in 47 minutes. In fact, if I look, he'd had 28 points combined in the last 3 games. He just got ridiculously hot. And he does it. Sometimes. But sometimes not. At the moment, though, he is providing some value without steals and blocks. You'd be shocked to know that over the last 2 weeks, he's a top 100 player. Averaging 0.7 steals. How, you may ask? Well, he's shooting 60% from the field, including 62 from 2 and 58 from 3. They're just not going to hold. I don't trust 25-minute-a-night Herb Jones to be a must-roster player. And he still only got that in this one. Still only got one on this one. What was I going to say? Whether you roster him or not is up to you. In a points league, I wouldn't bother, but it's a little unsustainable. CJ McCollum, 29 minutes, 33 points, 9 threes, 5 rebounds, a steal and a block on 65%. Just ridiculous stuff. Zion, 17, 3 and 11, 27 minutes. Remember, they won this game by 30 and they scored a franchise high 153. So everyone's numbers are going to be elevated. Ingram, 18, or maybe not him, 18, 5 and 6. And Valanciunas had a nice 17 and 12 double-double in 23 minutes. You think business as usual, but no, it wasn't business as usual because he was benched to begin the second half. Not that he was playing poorly necessarily. They just wanted Larry Nance to start. Now, after the game, Big Will Green came out and said, we're not going to not start Valanciunas. He's going to continue to start, but we're going to keep experimenting with lineups, which means Nance is going to get minutes. Now, if they would just stop kicking teams' asses by 40 points every game, we'd see Larry play 24 or 25. They just get in too many blowouts. Nance had 12 and 8, a triple one, 3 assists, 83% shooting, and started the second half. That is a 14-team league guy at the absolute very worst. At the worst. At his best, he's a 12-teamer. But look at their games. Their last, 8 games. Going back to against the Kings on the 7th of January. Well, let's go to... I've got these 9 games in front of me against the Clippers. 5th of January. Lost by 16, blowout. Won by 33, blowout. Won by 36, blowout. Lost by 12, a little bit of a blowout. Won by 10, not really a blowout. Lost by 5, close game. Won by 20, blowout. Lost by 14, blowout. Won by 29, blowout. And Nance just doesn't play in blowouts. So his minutes have been 19, 19, 19, 26, 20, 20, 19, 14, 19. And you'll be wondering, which is the one that he played 26 in, Josh? Yeah, it's the one that was a 5-point margin. So if they ever get into a game that's close, then he's going to see his minutes bump up. The problem is they're happening 1 out of every 10 games at the moment. And that is hard to understand, or it's hard to work out how to value that sort of a player. Trey Murphy, 14 points, 40% shooting, not much else going on there. And in fact, I think I'm ready to call it.
Get that garbage out of here.
Now, of course, you can hold Trey if you want. You don't have to drop him. We dropped him in points leagues weeks ago. His value is going to rise if someone gets hurt, but also the added complication is that Jordan Hawkins now exists, and he's another shooter they can use. Dougie played 16 minutes in this one. He had 6 points with 2 threes. He's rostered in 15% of 12-team leagues, which makes no sense. But he's at least on the radar, Hawk, as a guy that you can take a look at to stream for deeper leagues for threes. But the fact that Hawkins and Jones and Murphy are all sort of competing for the same minutes, that's not even to mention out-of-the-rotation legend Jose Alvarado and Dyson Daniels, who went scoreless in 17 minutes. There's just too many blokes on that bench for me to have any level of reliability in Murphy, in Hawkins, in Herb Jones, in Valanciunas, even in Nance. It's all over the shop, because of the way that the roster is and the way that Willie Green utilizes it. All right, before we go into the next game, Woj just tweeted that the Blazers are protesting the result of the game, saying that it was very clear that Chauncey Billups was calling a timeout prior to the official whistling that double dribble. We'll see what comes of this. But yeah, you don't get a protest too often. We'll see if anything happens, but there is an official protest apparently being filed. Still have nothing official on Doc Rivers, of course. Why would we get any collaborating information on that? Just drop a bomb during a halftime show and then don't follow up with anything, anywhere, at any point. Awesome. All right, the last game, the Battle of Los Angeles. The Clippers, the Lakers. We had a starting lineup change in this one because LeBron was out. So Taurean Prince moved back into the starting group. Not a huge thing there. Rui just stayed in his position that he was in the last game. And let's take a look how this game did shake out. It was the Clippers getting the victory in the end, as they always seem to do. 127-116, the final score. On the Lakers side, Jared Vanderbilt with no LeBron. He played 25 minutes. He had 12 and 9, 3 steals and a block. That is a 12-team league line. But it just doesn't happen often enough for him to be someone that I'm super interested in. Leave him on the wire for now, I think. D'Angelo Russell, 40 minutes, 27, 5, and 10. 21 shot attempts, 43%. Blocked a shot. Huge numbers. He's going to get traded. He is a sell high, a massive one. Massive. But he is rolling at the moment. This is an unsustainable hot streak. Davis had 26 and 12, while Reeves had a pretty pedestrian 12, 2, and 5, 2 steals and a block. Do not drop Austin Reeves. I know it's entered your head. Don't drop him. Hachimura did jack shit. 11, 3, and 2 with a 1-1. Taurean Prince had Richie Beno. He had 11 points, 2 threes, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. But these are just sort of 14 to 16 team league options at best. While Chris Wood dropped back down, and you'll be shocked to know that Cam Reddish had a trip to the locker room. What a shock that is. Every game, this man. He had 3 blocks, but yeah. Wood had 6 and 7 in his minutes as well. For the Clippers, triple-double for Kawhi, 25, 11, and 10. Is that his first ever? Is it? It might be. Is it? I'm going to double check that. I think it might be. No, it's his second. My bad. It's his second triple-double. There you go. Yeah, wow, crazy. 25, 11, and 10 with 2 steals. The Russell Westbrook situation continues to be baffling. 18 minutes. His minutes are basically tied, it seems like, to Daniel Tice. But in this one, they just didn't go as small because it's not like Plumlee played a lot. 19 minutes for the Plum Dog. 0 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. You can jack off the cockroach.
Get that garbage out of here!
Westbrook, 16 and 6 with 3 threes and 2 steals. That's really good production in those minutes. I can't trust it, though. How do I trust someone to do that in those minutes? If you've got him, and obviously a lot of you do, you hold him through that because it's still a really good game. And it's not like he was bad in this one at all. But 36 usage is not a sustainable number, and he was a +1 in a game they won by 11. Should have done more than that, clearly. I still don't think that you need to hold him. But the minutes are all over the shop. The production's all over the shop. Do with that what you will. Paul George only played 30 minutes, while Jim Harden played 39 and Kawhi played 38. Now, at the end of the game, George was standing on the sidelines with his knee wrapped up. He did enter the game, but then he came back out while Kawhi and Harden closed it out. And when he plays like 9 fewer minutes than the other guys, it is worth mentioning. 17, 5, and 3 for George. With extra minutes there for Norm Powell, 17, 5, and 2 in 27 minutes. And Terrence Mann actually scored well with 17 points. And Amir Coffey had 3 threes in his 24. Earlier this season, when George missed, it wasn't Westbrook that benefited. It was a lot more of Coffey and Powell. We saw when Kawhi was out, that was when they gave more minutes to Russ. So just watch that one. If Paul George happens to miss, I'm not sure that he will. But that is obviously a significantly lower amount of minutes that Paul George played in this game compared to his teammates. All right, let's go into the stream of the day, or the streams of the day for today. A pretty successful day with the streams of the day, I would say. The 10-team stream was Herb Jones, 22, 5, and 5, 2 steals and a block. Wow. The 12-team stream of the day was Jabari Walker, 14 and 13 with a block. Yeah. The 14-team stream was Larry Nance, 12 and 8, 3 assists, steal, and a block. Some of the biggest W's you will get ever with those streams. It's good to have a nice day like that. The 16-teamer wasn't perfect, but Chris Dunn, 10, 3, and 4 with 0 steals, 0 blocks. We love it. The Yahoo point stream was Jabari Walker, 32 fantasy points. And the ESPN stream was Jabari Walker with 29 fantasy points. And all of that is pretty good to my untrained eye. We're at the monstrous line of the night. We didn't have the gigantic performances like Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid yesterday, or Giannis, or whoever else put up those monster games. But we still had some big ones. That's what she said. Nikola Jokić had 31 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. He is your monstrous line of the night. Your waiver wire line of the night. The best player available in over 50% of leagues. We are going to a guy. It's got a couple of these this season. Don't add him. But it is Simone Fontecchio. 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals for Fontecchio. Your young gun of the night. Well, if it's not Wembanyama, you know it's going to be this guy if he is playing the majority of the time. We're going with Chet Holmgren, who had 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks, and then your dud of the night. This one's a good one. This man just continues to frustrate me with his ineptitude. Old mate Spencer Dinwiddie, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 value Bitcoin, and 4 assists. I don't know what to do with him, but I don't think you need to hold him. That'll bring us into talking about the top 6 players for the day. When we're looking here at the valuations, we'll start with the top 6 category league players. Number 1 was Nikola Jokić, followed by Kawhi Leonard, Christian James McCollum, Herbalife Jones, Julius Randle, and Mikal Bridges. Your top 6 players rostered in under 50% of leagues. Fontecchio, followed by Larry Nance, Jared Vanderbilt, Timothy John McConnell, Dwop Reith, and Andy Nembhard. And your top 6 players in points league, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokić, Kawhi Leonard, Mikal Bridges, Jamal Murray, and the double royal Julius Randle. To finish things off, I think that we grab Brandon Miller. I'm also very interested in selling him high. The trade has opened up possibilities for him, more shot attempts, more ball handling. I think Jabari Walker just should be added. I think he's just good enough to be on a 12-team roster now. And I think we go and re-add TJ McConnell. If you miss him, do Nembhard. Obviously, a couple more games only for Halliburton. I would be okay with jacking off Keontae George.
Get that garbage out of here!
And I would be with Trey Murphy as well. You don't have to drop Trey Murphy, but I think we're at that position now where it's just hard to justify him being any sort of must-hold position given how the lineups are running and how his production is at this point. And that brings us to the end of the show as I just do a quick check-in to see whether there's any official Doc Rivers news. Nope, there is not. So there you go. I'm sure you get something later on. Guys, you know what to do. You got to come across here and hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and ring the notification bell. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Post-credit scene. Just a quick tweet. Quick tweet. Paul George's left groin injury from last month is being managed by the team, per Tyronn Lue. How very curious. Keep an eye on it.